Hello, welcome back to Path to Programming. Today we're going to talk a little bit about what web development is. So what actually is web development? Web development is just the process of creating different sites and pages that we put on the internet. There's a lot of variety when it comes to web development though. We can see anything from sort of a small static web page to a more complex application with a front end and a back end. What we want to do in this web development series is just sort of get you introduced to the more common and important concepts of creating different web applications. So to do that, let's first talk about what a front end and a back end is. Those web applications are all composed of a front end and a back end. The front end is just what the users see. So when you go to a website and you're using the home page, the about page, the login page, literally anything that you can access on a website, that's all the front end. Everything that you can see on your computer is going to be the front end. On the other hand, everything the users can't see, things that are going to be handled by databases and servers, for example, storing user data or making requests for more data with servers, those are all going to be things that are handled by the back end. And so all of the applications that are composed of a front end and a back end are things that we call full stack applications. They're just sort of applications that use a bunch of different frameworks or languages that help build those front end and back end components. So what we want to do here is just teach you a lot of those important concepts and different languages that you can use to build out those components. So a couple of tools and languages that we're going to use are HTML, CSS, JavaScript, and then the icon on the far right is Visual Studio Code. So HTML and CSS aren't actually considered like programming languages, but they are what you're going to use to create the most important web development and like web page components. So that's going to be how you create, the different headers, the text components, the little boxes and buttons, all that stuff. Everything that you can see on the front end is going to be through sort of HTML and CSS components. And JavaScript is how we're going to add a lot of basic functionality to those things. We're going to dive into each of these individually and explain how they can help. Visual Studio Code is just something we call an IDE or an integrated development environment. That's just something that we can write our code in. So previously we've been writing all of our code in REPL, and that's how we're going to start. But if you want to create an actual application that you deploy onto the internet and for other people to use, you can't really do that using an editor online. You should probably have your own sort of application where you're writing all of your code. So we'll make a tutorial on how to download and set that up so that you can write all of your code in there. But basically, that's the introduction for our web development series. And in the coming videos, we'll talk about each of these things and how to use them.